What's going on YouTube? It is Texans Take over here, back with another video. In today's video, we are talking NFL draft. I'm a draft guru. I love talking about the NFL draft, and I know the 2026 season hasn't kicked off, but it feels like when college football does start in about a month from now, the 2027 NFL draft will feel already on the horizon. So today, I want to talk about some fits, not just the big names, as the Texans hold 6 picks in 2027, including our own first and second rounders. We're going into this presuming that CJ Stroud is going to have a good season, becoming the franchise quarterback, that the secondary is kind of locked down with Stingley and Lassiter on the boundaries with Jalen Petrie, and that Will Anderson and Neil Hunter are our edge tandem. In my opinion, the trenches and the run game still need those long-term answers, and these are the players who I think make the most sense and exactly why. First up, it's Trevor Goosby, the Texas left tackle. In my opinion, this is one of the cleanest fits on the board. Goosby is a 6'7", 312 to 325-pound athletic freak with a reported 4.8 40, which is safe to say elite for that position. In 2025, he started all 13 games protecting Arch Manning's blindside. He earned a first-team All-SEC honors, and he graded in the top tier of his class in both pass block and run block winning percentages, with an 86% pass block win rate and an 85% run block win rate per early scouting reports. He allowed just 3 sacks and 16 pressures as a first-year full-time starter. So why Houston specifically? Look at the 2025 numbers. The Texans ranked 30th in pass block win rate with 56% and dead last in run block win rate at 68%. Rookie left tackle Arianta Ursary showed promise, but there was a high volume of pressures there. Right tackle Braden Smith is a solid veteran addition, but age and durability questions linger. Goosby's length, recovery athleticism, and hand usage could give Stroud a true long-term blindside or swing tackle who can grow into the young core. Multiple early boards have him as a top 10 overall or top 2 offensive tackle prospect. But he's the type of blue chip bookend that turns a good offense into a great one, and I think that's something that the Texans should be looking to move up for. We know we wanted to move up for Kelvin Banks. I think Trevor Goosby could be another one that the Texans do look to move up for, excuse me. Next is another first round talent. It's Caden Green out of Missouri. He's 6'5" and 324 pounds, and one of the most versatile offensive linemen in this class. Green has started at both tackle and guard. Scouts seem to love his anchor strength, his balance, and his ability to win in tighter spaces. Early rankings place him as a mid to late first rounder who many project best as an interior player long term, even if he does end up playing tackle in college this next season. He's allowed very few pressures in recent seasons and brings the physicality that Nick Caley's offense might want. Houston's interior has Wyatt Teller, turning 32, Ed Ingram, solid but not an elite player, and Jake Andrews or Keelan Rutledge, to start at that center spot. Jake Andrews is actually heading towards free agency after 2026. Green is someone that would give him a high floor, high ceiling piece who can start at guard immediately or develop at tackle. In a class where pure interior depth is thinner, his multi position value is perfect for a team that still ranks near the bottom of preseason offensive line projections heading into 2026. He directly addresses the protection issues that limited Stroud's efficiency in the 2025 season. So, in my opinion, I think the Texans would likely have to move up again for Caden Green, but I just really, really like the fit. I think if Keelan Rutledge wants to move back out to guard, then you could use Caden Green as a swing tackle in his first year, or if Braden Smith didn't pan out the way you wanted him to, you could use him at right tackle. The versatility is something that I think the Texans could really utilize, and that's why I really, really like Caden Green as a fit. I do think Goosby is the better prospect, but I do think Caden Green is someone that can plug and play right away in a multitude of positions for the Texans, which is why I really, really like the fit for Caden Green out of Missouri to the Texans. Maybe as a guard, maybe as a tackle, maybe even as a center. He's going to be able to do really whatever he wants to wherever the Texans have a hole along that offensive line, especially with the aging Wyatt Teller. So that's why I really like Caden Green. Again, I think it would require the Texans to move up, depending on where we finish next season. But I project us to be a contender in the AFC, so I do think we'd have to move up to the teens for a Caden Green. But we know Nick Caserio is aggressive, so that's why I don't mind putting him here. Next is Kewan Lacy, the running back at Ole Miss. This is a guy with high volume and who is a scoring machine. Lacy is 5'11" and about 200 and 205 pounds. After transferring from Missouri, who we just talked about with Caden Green, he exploded in 2025. He had 1,567 rushing yards, an SEC leading 24 touchdowns, 306 carries at 5.1 yards per carry. He had 29 catches on top of that as well. He forced 89 missed tackles and racked up over 1,000 yards after contact. His signature game of the year was 224 yards and 3 scores against Florida, and he never missed a game this past season. His strengths are obviously that scoring nose, the short yardage conversion, his contact balance, his leg drive, and an ability to handle a true bell cow load with the vision in zone scheme. Weaknesses include drops, a limited route tree, occasional fumbles, and a lighter frame that shows more catch than strike in pass protection. Projections range from the late first to the early second rounds right now for Quan Lacy. For the Texans, this would be the direct answer to that 3.8 yards per carry inefficiency. Lacy forces defense to respect the run. It opens the play action up for CJ Stroud and fits Caley's multiple concepts as a high volume early down and goal line back with that modest receiving value that he presents. He would have excellent day one or day two upside if the board does fall right. This, in my opinion, is my favorite fit for the Houston Texans. Quan Lacy is a guy that I just tweeted about recently, talking about how much I like him. He's one of my draft crushes heading into this next year just because of the production he showed, the explosiveness that he shows. I think he's an incredible running back, and I do think if the Texans are in the back half of the first round like we do project, a running back like Kewan Lacy might be available there. So if you are looking to reinvest in that offense, I think Kewan Lacy could be a big piece of this offense moving forward if you are looking to get a running back in the early rounds, which the Texans have never done before. So maybe they break their trend with the Kewan Lacy. We don't know. It's something we will have to see. But I really love the talent of a Kewan Lacy, and I would love if the Texans looked at him throughout the course of the season to, kind of reinvest in that running back position because we do know that Dave Montgomery is an aging running back. For this fourth player, we're going to be staying in the backfield because we're going to be talking about one of my draft crushes from last year who decided to stay in college football, and that's LJ Martin from BYU. In my opinion, this is the bigger physical complement to a David Montgomery or Woody Marks. That's because LJ Martin's 6'2", and he's about 220 to 225 pounds, but he's reported a 4.46 This past season, he posted around 1,300 yards, 1,305 to be exact, on 5.5 yards per carry, with 12 rushing touchdowns, and he had 36 receptions for over 250 yards. His career volume is already pretty strong. Martin's someone that generated excellent yards after contact and forced plenty of missed tackles while earning Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year consideration for BYU. Martin is a tall, square frame zone runner who presses the stretch. He's a guy who makes one decisive cut and always falls forward. He possesses great vision, patience, reliable hands, and solid durability. His pass protection is somewhat of a weakness. It's refining, but he's more than willing to do it, which is nice to see. His weaknesses really are that limited top end breakaway speed and his occasional tall pad level. His consensus right now is a third to fourth round pick, so late day 2 to early day 3. From the Texans' perspective, Houston would be getting a 3-down piece who improves their short yardage and early down efficiency, adding size to the backfield with Montgomery and Marks, who are kind of bulky, shorter running backs. This guy is a tall, physical running back. Obviously, Montgomery and Marks are physical as well, but this guy's got even bigger size. In my opinion, this means that he's a natural fit for Caley's scheme as a dependable rotational or eventual featured back without the Texans having to spend early draft capital in the first or the second round. You'd get him somewhere in the middle part of the draft, which I think would be great value for the Texans. Y'all really know how much I loved LJ Martin heading into the last draft process. Um, really wish he ended up a Houston Texan. We ended up getting Dave Montgomery. But, as Dave Montgomery gets a year older, as we just talked about with Kewan Lacy, excuse me, you might want to reinvest in that running back room. And I think LJ Martin, if you're not looking at getting, a blue chip prospect, would be one of those guys that you look to reinvest in to be a somewhat featured back heading into the 2027 season it would be. We're going to be moving over to the defensive side of the ball now. We're going to be talking about a guy who just transferred to Michigan from Utah and John Henry Daley. His head coach, Kyle Whittingham from Utah, moved to Michigan and he decided to follow him. So we're going to be looking to see what he can do with the Wolverines this next season instead of the Utes. Daley is a 6'4", 250-pound edge, and he put together one of the most productive pass rush seasons in his class before injury. He sacked the quarterback 11.5 times and had 17.5 plus TFLs with 48 tackles and multiple forced fumbles mixed in there. He had really high pressure games and the ability to bend the corner while converting speed to power with that clean rip move that he possesses. If you turn on the film, you'll be able to see that rip move that he has. It's absolutely dirty and he uses it a lot. So if you do want to see a really good pass rush bag, you want to watch John Henry Daley. He's also really good against the run. He sets a firm edge against it too. So you've got the pass rush ability and you've got the run stuffing ability, excuse me. The big variable, though, for John Henry Daley is a late 2025 Achilles rupture. The recovery and the return of explosion will dictate the final grade of this player, obviously. Frame could use added mass for early down NFL power, but the pure talent that John Henry Daley possesses projects maybe the late first to second round. Um, I would say as of now, though, he is probably projected to go around the third round due to that Achilles rupture. We'll see that how he's able to bounce back from that. He is an explosive athlete. He does rely on that explosiveness a lot. So again, we'll see how he bounced back. Wishing all the best for him. Um, but for DeMeco Ryans' pressure defense specifically, Daley is that high motor guy. He has high upside depth, and he's a potential starter behind Anderson and Hunter when Neil Hunter would be to leave. So this is kind of your future, I guess, in a sense, way to minimize the risk of losing Neil Hunter. Again, that medical risk can make him available later, creating strong value as a rotational piece who elevates the pass rush immediately if healthy. We know how much we need a third edge. We know how much we need someone to replace Neil Hunter long term, and I think that's exactly what John Henry Daley would be able to do for the Texans. Again, it really all comes down to how he bounces back from this Achilles rupture. If he shows a productive season, then we could see him go as early as the late first round, as we were just talking about. If he kind of just continues on, I think he will end up being a late second to early third round pick. A day two pick, in my opinion, is where John Henry Daley would land. So if you aren't looking to draft an edge early in the NFL draft next season, then I think the Texans could be looking at a guy like John Henry Daley out of Michigan, who's uberly productive. So the talent's there, just bouncing back from an injury, and I think the Texans would be willing to take that bet. So that's why I included him in this video. Excuse me. I think the talent is undeniable. And it's going to be really interesting to see how he bounces back headed into next year. I'm going to take us back to the offensive side of the ball for day 2 or day 3 value, but staying at the same school, and that's Blake Frazier, who's a tackle at Michigan. Blake Frazier is a 6'6", about 295-pound tackle. He was a legacy recruit for Michigan, a 4-star recruit, and he's athletic with a track background. He's added a lot of mass in college while keeping his movement skills and has shown positional versatility at both left and right tackle. He broke into the rotation last year and had multiple starts in 2025. And the strengths with Blake Frazier are that athletic foundation. The footwork he possesses, his football IQ being a legacy recruit, his family being involved in football, and that growth potential that he does possess. Obviously, with all that said, the potential means that he's still an unfinished project who needs to kind of cement his technique and improve his anchoring against the elite pass rushers and refine his hand placement. He currently projects in the 3rd to 4th round range with starter upside if he takes the next step up in 2026. For the Texans, though, the Texans would get a young, athletic tackle who would provide depth and competition behind Ursery and the veterans like Braden Smith. And he's a high ceiling developmental swing tackle who fits Caley's scheme and builds the line without early round investment. So if Trent Brown ends up leaving the Texans after last season, if Braden Smith has, somewhat of an underwhelming year, then the Texans could look to a guy like Blake Frazier, to develop as a swing tackle to start out and then transition his way over to that right tackle role to take over from Braden Smith. I think Blake Frazier showed a lot of growth as an offensive tackle last year, and he's one of my favorite players in college football because I am a Michigan fan. But just seeing his growth, he's a really fun personality, and it does seem like the team does really love a guy like Blake Frazier, and I think that infectious personality is going to be something that DeMeco Ryans really likes. And I think at right tackle, the Texans could use another, I guess in a sense, solution to look at that's youthful over Blake Fisher, and I think Blake Frazier could be the guy that is that youthful replacement to kind of step into that swing tackle role and then develop well to turn into that right tackle that the Texans could look at in the future because he does have that upside there. It's just about whether or not he can reach it, and I do think he does have that possibility to if he's just coached in the proper way. And I think Michigan, with Kyle Whittingham coming in, is going to really, really enhance his development, and we'll see where he does end up in the draft projections heading into next year. But as of now, like I said, I think it's going to be around the 3rd to 4th round. To close this video out, I'm going to take you back to the defensive side of the ball to close with more edge depth, and this is talking about Anto Saka, the edge from Texas A&M who transferred from Northwestern. Saka is a 6'4", 255-pound, athletic, quick edge who had prior production as a situational pass rusher and roughly a dozen career sacks. He's kind of looking for a larger role from Northwestern in the SEC with Texas A&M, and we'll be able to see how he's able to produce this upcoming season. But Saka's a strong developmental edge with upside as a rusher. He's still kind of refining that consistency because he wasn't seeing too many snaps and early down strength. He projects as a day 3 pick, I'd say around the 5th or 6th round as we stand right now. So for the Texans, this is a classic day 3 pick for depth, an athletic body who can rotate in Ryans' pass rush packages and develop behind the established starters. He's a low-cost addition that adds competition and long-term pieces. I think this is a guy that could explode. Um, you're not taking the jump from Northwestern to Texas A&M without a reason. I think he could explode. He's got the measurables. I think his arm length is around like 34.5 inches. He's got the intangibles. It's all about just kind of putting it together. You think about Shamar Stewart with Texas A&M, who was that athletic freak that went in the first round and just wasn't really able to put it together in terms of sack numbers in college. I think Anto Saka could be another one of those players that really shows out throughout the course of this college season. Maybe even gets those sack numbers because he has tried to develop as a pass rusher more than anything. Um, I think you're just going to look to see him be a very, very good situational piece in the NFL. If he does get there, I certainly think he will be able to. I think he's going to be a very impactful piece for Texas A&M this next season, and I think it could be a really good idea for the Texans to look at a rotational edge piece to be your edge 4, maybe. So you could even get, a John Henry Daley and an Anto Saka, or somehow if you do get a Tui Moloau from Oregon, um, or Uiagalelei from Oregon, excuse me. I just got that completely mixed up. I was thinking about the Colts for a second. Um, should have been thinking about college football. But yeah, if you can get a Tui Moloau, or, you know, a guy that can be your edge 3 that can develop, and then your Anto Saka who has time to develop and are fine to be that edge 4 for now and then develop into that edge 3, then I think the Texans look great at the edge position moving forward. That's why I included him on this list to be that kind of back end of the draft guy that I think is a decent fit. So yeah, that's the board for today. We got Goosby as the premium tackle fix for Stroud's protection, Lacy and Martin as complementary running backs who attack the run game problems from different angles, Daley as the high upside edge talent with the medical risk, and Frazier and Saka as smart developmental value on the line and edge. These 6 kind of map directly to Houston's 2025 blocking metrics, the aging and developing pieces on the roster, and the schematic needs of Nick Caley and DeMeco Ryans, obviously. Premium early impact mixed with high floor day 2 and day 3 additions. Rankings will shift with the 2026 college season, obviously, but in my opinion, these fits are real. So if you enjoyed the deep dive about these prospects and their fit with the Houston Texans, please smash that like button, please consider subscribing, and drop your favorite of these 6 in the comments. Who are you highest on for the Texans heading into this next draft? And I'll see y'all next time. If you did enjoy this video, again, please be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Peace.